Jake was just a normal guy, a human, low-level technician on space station Zora 7, floating near the edge of the Andromeda sector. He fixed broken wires, replaced blinking lights, and drank too much space coffee. Nothing special. Nothing exciting. But everything changed. The moment he walked into lab room 9, it was supposed to be empty. Jake had received a repair request. Power surge in equipment room, panel 12 malfunctioning. He grabbed his toolkit and walked in. The lights were dim. Strange machines hummed. Softly, there was a silver table in the middle, and something that looked like a giant alien blender sitting on top. Wires, glowing tubes, blinking blue buttons. It was nothing he had ever seen before. Must be another rich alien's toy, Jake mumbled, yawning as he stepped forward. He didn't notice the soft footsteps behind the glass wall. Someone else was in the room. Suddenly, a quiet voice spoke. "Wait, don't touch that." But it was too late. Jake had already placed his hand on the glowing panel. He thought it was just a switch. He thought he was helping. The machine lit up with a loud zap. A beam of bright green light shot out, hit someone on the other side of the room. It was Lyra. She was an alien girl. With light blue skin, silver hair, and big violet eyes. She was wearing a white science uniform and carrying a tray of glowing samples. She stood frozen, her mouth open in shock. Then something strange happened. Her eyes widened. Her face turned completely pink, even through her blue skin. She gasped and dropped the tray. Jake stood there, confused.
What?
What just happened? Lyra took a step back, covering her chest with both arms. You activated the Xyron enhancer? She whispered, trembling. Jake blinked. The what? She looked down at herself, then back at him, clearly embarrassed. My coconuts? They're bigger now. Jake turned red. Oh no. No dash, no dash, no dash, no. I didn't mean to. It was forbidden tech. Lyra said, still trying to cover herself. You weren't supposed to touch it. Shh. Jake panicked. I thought it was just a button, I swear. The machine now hummed loudly. Its core glowed brighter, like it wanted more. Something in the air felt electric. Then the alarms began. Unauthorized activation detected. Security alert. Lab 9 breach. Red lights flashed. Great, Jake said. Now I've really done it. Lyra stepped closer, still holding her arms across her chest. Her voice was shaky. You don't understand. That machine was created for the royal family. Only someone with Xyron blood can use it. You're human, or at least I thought you were. Jake frowned. What do you mean thought? I'm just a guy from Earth. I eat burgers and fix wires. But Lyra didn't look convinced. The doors suddenly opened. 2 tall alien guards marched in, wearing black armor and carrying plasma spears. Hands up, they shouted. Step away from the enhancer. Jake raised both hands. It was an accident. Lyra tried to explain it's not his fault, he didn't know, but the guards didn't care. They grabbed Jake and pulled his arms behind his back. I'm telling you, Jake said. I just touched a button. One guard looked at Lyra and asked coldly, did the Xyron machine respond to him? Lyra nodded slowly. The guards froze. They looked at each other. One whispered, that should be impossible. He's not one of us. Jake struggled. One of who? Can someone please tell me what's going on? Lyra stepped forward. Let him go. We need to test his blood. If the enhancer reacted to him, he may not be just human. The guards hesitated. Then one of them called on a communicator. Send a science team. We may have a mixed blood case. Jake looked at Lyra, his heart pounding. What the hell is going on? He asked softly. Lyra looked at him with wide, unsure eyes. You touched forbidden alien tech. You activated a royal device. And you enlarged something that should never be enlarged by a human. Jake sighed. Worst Monday ever. But deep inside, something in him was changing. He didn't know it yet, but that one accidental press had just connected him to a power older than the stars and the Xyron machine. It had only just woken up. Jake sat in a cold chair inside a strange white room. The walls didn't have corners. Everything looked smooth, curved and glowing faint blue like moonlight on ice. There were no windows, just one silver door that had no handle. He had no idea how it opened or even if it would open again. His hands rested on his knees. He kept replaying the moment in his head. The button, the beam, Lyra's shocked face, the guards, the shouting, date, and the weirdest part, her saying he might not be fully human. "I'm a tech guy," he mumbled to himself. "I fix toilets and snack machines. I'm not space royalty." The door suddenly hissed open. 2 tall aliens walked in, their suits tight and smooth like liquid armor. Behind them walked Lyra, still pink in the face, her silver hair tied back now, holding a small scanner in one hand. She didn't look angry. She looked embarrassed. But curious too. One of the guards spoke. "Don't move. We're running." "Tess!" Jake raised his eyebrows. "You gonna poke me with something?" Lyra stepped forward. "Just a quick scan. It doesn't hurt." Jake gave a small shrug. "Fine. But if I grow a tail, I'm blaming you." She scanned his arm. A soft green light swept over his skin, then beeped twice. The scanner showed some alien text and a flashing blue symbol. The guard leaned in to look, and turned. "To Lyra, it's real." Jake frowned. "What's real?" Lyra lowered the scanner slowly, eyes wide. The enhancer didn't just activate for no reason. It responded to something inside you, something old. Jake tilted his head. "What? Like space worms?" "No," Lyra said softly, "like Xyran blood." Jake laughed. "I think I'd remember if my dad was an alien." "You wouldn't," she said. "Not if the bloodline was hidden. There were old Earth experiments, hundreds of years ago, mixing human and Xyran genes. They were banned, illegal, forgotten, but some of the results survived." Jake's heart started to pound. "You're saying I'm a science experiment?" The guard interrupted. "Enough talk. The council must see this." Jake was pulled to his feet again. As they marched him down the glowing hallway, he glanced at Lyra. She walked beside him silently, her face unreadable now. The doors ahead slid open into a tall, round chamber. Inside sat 7 aliens on raised seats, their faces hidden under silver masks. Their robes shimmered like oil on water. Jake was pushed forward into the center. A deep voice echoed, "You touched the Xyran enhancer. Explain yourself." Achik cleared his throat. "It was a mistake. I thought it was a coffee machine." Murmurs filled the room. Another voice spoke. This one sharper, the machine responded. "That is no mistake." Lyra stepped forward. "I was there." He didn't know. But his DNA activated the core. That means the enhancer recognized him. That hasn't happened in centuries. One of the elders leaned forward, and what was the effect? Silence. Jake felt his face heat up. Lyra shifted uncomfortably. It enlarged something. Accidentally. Be specific. Her voice dropped to a whisper. "My upper body." Murmurs. One of the elders gave a slight cough. Jake raised a hand. "Can I go now? I promise not to touch any more glowy alien stuff." The oldest elder finally spoke. His voice was soft but powerful. "You don't understand what you've done, human. The Xyran enhancer does not react to outsiders. If it woke for you, then it means your blood carries a key, and that key may open doors that were sealed long ago." Jake frowned. "So what do you want me to do? Open space doors? Unlock alien treasure?" "Because I'm not Indiana Jones, all right?" Lyra looked at him, her voice low. "We want you to come back to the lab. You need to understand how the machine reacted to you before someone else tries to use it, for the wrong reasons." Jake crossed his arms. "And what happens if I say no?" The guard stepped closer. Lyra whispered, "Then they'll force you. Or worse, erase your memory and dump you on some moon." Jake sighed. "Great. So either I become a science project or get my brain zapped. What amazing options." Lyra took a step closer. "I'll be there. Can help. Just don't joke around this time. It's dangerous." Jake looked into her big violet eyes. She really meant it. "Fine," he said, "but no more weird beams. Okay?" As they walked back to the lab, Jake couldn't help but notice something odd. The enhancer machine, even when shut down, seemed to glow a little when he walked near it, like it was waiting for him. And far above the station, hidden in the dark of space, something ancient began to stir, something watching, something that had been silent for hundreds of years, now listening again. Because the Xyran bloodline had just been awakened, and Earth's forgotten secrets were about to rise once more. Jake stared at the machine like it was alive. Back in Lab Room 9, the Xyran enhancer stood silently on the center table. Smooth metal alien symbols carved into its frame, soft lights pulsing like a slow heartbeat. Looked peaceful now, but he remembered what it had done, and what it could do again. The guards were gone. Lyra stood across from him, holding a small notepad and speaking into a floating recorder drone. Test subject, Jake Lawson. Cumin. Possible Xyran DNA fusion. First contact with the enhancer caused. Unexpected biological change in nearby observer. Jake raised his hand. You can just say I zapped your coconuts. We were both there. Lyra blinked, her face flushing blue again. We don't call them that in science? He grinned. Fine. I'll be the mature one. She rolled her eyes and handed him a small device. This is a neural stabilizer. Should help if the machine reacts again. Don't move unless I say. So, Jake took the device. It looked like a toy spaceship with wires. Great. Feels totally safe. Lyra moved to a nearby control pad. Her fingers danced across glowing panels, symbols lighting up in sequence. The air grew warmer. The enhancer began to hum. Jake felt it immediately. A gentle pull in his chest, like a magnet inside his ribs. The machine wasn't just active, it was aware of him. It was calling. Is it supposed to do that? He asked. No, Lyra said softly. It's syncing with you. That's impossible. That level of response means... She stopped. Jake tilted his head. Means what? Lyra looked pale. Means you're not just part Xyran. You may be something else entirely. Before he could reply, the machine flashed. A sudden burst of green. Energy surrounded Jake, lifting him a few inches off the ground. His eyes widened, but he couldn't move. The stabilizer device sparked, then cracked apart in his hand. Lyra shouted something, but her voice echoed like it was underwater. He felt warmth rush through his veins. Not burning, not painful, just energy. Ancient, deep, and familiar. Like a voice without sound, whispering in his bones. Welcome back. The light faded. Jake dropped back to the floor, breathing hard. Lyra ran to him, scanning his chest, his arms, his face. Are you okay? Can you hear me? He nodded. Yeah, that felt weird. But also kind of right. Lyra looked at the machine. It was silent again. But the readings on her scanner were going crazy. Jake stood up slowly. What did it do this time? She didn't answer right away. She turned her scanner so he could see. It didn't enhance anything. It connected to your mind. It scanned you, and then it shut down. Jake blinked. Why? Because Lyra said, her voice shaky. It found what it was looking for. He frowned. And what exactly is that? Before she could answer, the lab lights went dark. Then, emergency red lights flickered on. A loud voice echoed through the walls. Warning. Unauthorized power surge in core sector. Security lockdown initiated. Lyra's eyes widened. Something's wrong in the lower levels. Jake looked at the enhancer. It was glowing again, but now faint and flickering, like it had given something. Or taken something. They rushed to the hallway. Outside, technicians were running, shouting in alien languages. One of them stopped when he saw Lyra. It's the Xyran core, he said quickly. It woke up. Lyra froze. That's not possible.
Oh.
Jake looked between them. Okay, someone explain to the human, please. Lyra turned to him. Xyran core is the heart of this station. It powers everything. But it's not just an energy source. It's alive. It's an ancient artifact, sealed for thousands of years. They say it was built by the first Xyran rulers. Jake raised an eyebrow. And now it's awake because of me? She nodded slowly. The enhancer is connected to the core. If you activated one, the other may have responded. More alarms blared. Then a new voice came through the speaker. A voice that wasn't robotic. It was deep, cold, and full of purpose. Subject recognized. Bloodline confirmed. Initiating protocol. Return of the key. Jake backed up. Why does that sound like the beginning of something bad? Lyra didn't answer. Her hands were shaking now. There's a prophecy, a legend, about a human who would carry the lost siren key. When the key returned, the core would awaken, and something else would come with it. Something like what? She whispered. A war. Suddenly, the lights in the hallway shut off completely. For a second, everything was silent. Then the walls shook, and deep below the station, something massive moved in the dark. The floor was trembling, not violently, but enough to feel it in the bones. A slow rumble, like something ancient had started breathing under the station after thousands of years. Jake stood frozen, eyes darting around the dark hallway. Red emergency. Lights blinked every few seconds, casting moving shadows on the walls. Somewhere far away, a loud metallic groan echoed through the structure. Like something massive was turning beneath them, Lyra was already pulling him by the arm. We have to get to the core sector. Now. Jake ran with her down the curved corridor, passing confused aliens' flickering lights, and blinking panels that sparked as they passed. The air was getting warmer, tense, almost like the station itself was watching. They entered a vertical transport tube. As the door shut behind them, the tube dropped fast. Jake stumbled, grabbing a handle. Still not used to space elevators, he muttered. Lyra was focused on her wrist display, tapping fast. The core's heat signature is increasing. It's absorbing power from every system, even life support. If we don't shut it down soon, this station could implode. Jake looked at her. Can't we just pull the plug? She shook her head. It's not that simple. The core isn't a machine. It's a living construct. It chooses who can speak to it, and right now, it's listening to you. The lift stopped with a soft thud. They stepped out into a new hallway, darker, quieter, and colder. Here, the walls were smooth black stone, with ancient golden lines glowing faintly like veins. The symbols etched into them didn't look like modern tech. They looked old, religious, powerful. Jake took slow steps forward, his voice low. This place feels different. Lyra didn't respond. She looked around nervously. Even her calm, scientific mind couldn't explain what they were walking into. The corridor led them to a giant archway with no door. Just an open passage into blackness. Jake peered in. Well, ladies first. Lyra gave him a sharp look. He shrugged. Worth a try. They stepped through together. Inside was a massive chamber. It was so huge, Jake couldn't even see the ceiling. At the center was the Xyron core, a black sphere floating silently, spinning slowly in midair. It was surrounded by large stone-like pillars, glowing symbols dancing around them like holograms written in fire. The core pulsed gently as they approached, not threatening almost. Curious, Jake took a few steps closer. His chest felt heavy, but not in a bad way, like gravity itself was paying attention to him. Then the core spoke. Not out loud, but inside his mind. You are late, child of two bloods. Jake froze. His eyes widened. Did you hear that? Lyra nodded slowly. No, but I can see it reacting. The core's voice continued in Jake's mind. It wasn't angry. It was patient, deep, like an ocean whispering to a pebble. We have waited for your return. You carry the mark. You awaken the cycle. Jake blinked. What cycle? What mark? The great fold must be completed. Light and dark must rise again. You are the spark. Jake turned to Lyra. It's saying stuff about a cycle. A spark. Something about rising light and darkness. Real vague, very mysterious. Classic ancient voice. Lyra looked at her scanner, confused. You're the only one it's talking to. Maybe the prophecy was right. Maybe you really are the one. Jake sighed. Of course, me, the guy who once electrocuted himself, fixing a coffee outlet. The core pulsed brighter. Then a beam of light burst out from it, wrapping around Jake. Lyra shouted, "Jake!" But it didn't burn. It didn't hurt. It felt like being wrapped in memory. He saw flashes, visions not from his life, but from something older. He saw tall golden towers rising into alien skies. Armored warriors with glowing eyes. Two empires, one shining, one shadowed, fighting across burning stars. And at the center of it all, a single figure stood on a floating platform. Holding the core in his hand, the man had Jake's face. Then everything vanished. The beam faded. Jake fell to his knees. That was a memory. Lyra helped him up. What did you see? I saw me, or someone like me, leading some kind of war. I think I was the last person to use this core, a long time ago. Lyra's expression changed. Her voice was soft. Jake, you're a reincarnation. He laughed once, short and disbelieving. That's insane. She nodded. Yes, but it's also happening. The walls shook again, this time stronger. A chunk of stone fell from the ceiling, crashing beside them. The core pulsed dark red. Lyra's scanner beeped fast. Oh no. Core isn't just waking up, it's sending a signal. Jake stepped back. To where? Lyra stared at the scanner in horror. To the other half, the shadow core. Jake's heart dropped. There's another one of these? She nodded. Hidden on the other side of the galaxy, sealed away. If it wakes up, I didn't need to hear the rest, because now he understood. What the prophecy meant? The return of the key wasn't just about power. It was about balance. And somewhere out there, in the cold dark of space, the other side had just opened its eyes. The stars outside space station Zora 7 flickered strangely that night. From the observation window near the west docking bay, nothing looked unusual. A field of stars, some planets in the far distance, a small red sun glowing weakly behind a cloud of space dust. But something had changed. Something had shifted, even if the naked eye couldn't see it. Jake could feel it in his bones. He stood in silence, hands on the cold glass, watching the stars like they might blink back. His mind raced with what the core had shown him. Towers, the ancient war, its own face staring out of a memory that wasn't his. Behind him, the hum of the station was quieter now. The Xyron enhancer had gone dark, its energy pulled into the core. Emergency teams were still checking systems, but most of the station had returned to normal. On the surface, it was calm, but Jake knew better. Lyra entered the room quietly, carrying 2 cups of synth tea. Her movements were slower than usual, thoughtful. She didn't say anything at first, just handed him a cup and stood beside him, staring out into the dark. They've detected a signal, she finally said. Jake didn't look away. From the shadow core, she nodded. It answered. Took a sip. The tea was warm, spicy. Probably alien cinnamon or something like it. Didn't matter. Didn't help. Jake's voice was low. Why me, Lyra? Why does this always happen to the janitor? You're more than that now, she replied. That's what scares me. She set her cup down. When I first came to this station, I thought science could explain everything. I believed in formulas, results, clean answers. But today I watched a machine speak through your bloodline. I saw symbols light up that no one has seen in thousands of years, and I watched you change. He laughed once, bitter and quiet. I didn't ask for any of this, I know. He stood in silence. Again, then Jake turned to her. If the shadow core wakes up, what happens? She hesitated. Long ago, the 2 cores were created together, light and shadow. They balanced each other. But during the final Xyron War, the shadow core was sealed away. The stories say it. Feeds on emotion, anger, greed, jealousy. It amplifies the worst in people. Jake raised an eyebrow. So basically it's a cosmic supervillain battery. She gave a small smile. Something like that. And now it's waking up. Yes, because you woke the first one. Jake sat down on the edge of a metal bench. He rubbed his eyes. I was just trying to fix a panel, that's it. Now I'm the key to some ancient prophecy, caught between two galaxy-breaking machines. Lyra sat beside him. Not just the key, the lock too. What does that mean? It means, she said gently, if the shadow core rises, you're the only one who can stop it. Or you could be the one who unlocks it completely. Jake stared at her. Her expression was soft, but her eyes were serious, scared even. He looked down at his hands. They looked the same. No glowing symbols, no lightning, just hands. But the moment he had touched the enhancer, something in him had shifted forever. He didn't feel like just Jake anymore. A voice came through the station's intercom. Council meeting, emergency session, level 1. All parties required. Lyra stood, they'll want answers. Jake gave a tired nod. Let's go disappoint them together. The council chamber was full this time, not just the elders. Scientists, military officials, diplomats, and several races Jake had never seen before. Some had glowing skin, others floated slightly above the ground. He felt like the only one who didn't belong. Still, when he walked in, every eye turned. To him, he took a deep breath and stood beside Lyra at the center platform. One of the elders spoke first. The human has triggered the awakening. The signal has been confirmed. The Shadow Core has responded. Another voice followed. Should we destroy the enhancer now, before more is activated? Jake frowned. You think that'll stop it? General answered coldly. It may slow it down. Jake took a step forward. You want to destroy a machine because of me? What if there's another way? The elder responded. You speak as if you control this power. I don't, Jake admitted. But maybe I can understand it. Maybe I'm supposed to. The room was quiet. Then Lyra stepped forward. There may be a solution. The legend says when the two cores awaken, their chosen must travel to the place of balance. Jake looked at her. The place of what now? She pulled up a hologram, a map of the galaxy. A small blue dot blinked near the edge. There's a lost world, uninhabited, covered in ruins. Some believe it was the site of the first Xyron experiments. It may hold the original balance chamber, the only place where both cores can be joined or sealed again. Jake whistled. So we're going on a space road trip. It's not that simple, the general cut in. The Shadow Core may already be moving. It can corrupt minds, twist loyalties. If it senses your presence, it may try to reach you. Raised his hand. I've had worse stalkers. Lyra looked at him seriously. Jake, if you go there, you may not come back the same. He looked around the room. Everyone was waiting, watching a janitor. A nobody, chosen by accident. But maybe not by mistake. He sighed. Pack the ship. Let's go meet this Shadow Core. And deep in the stars, somewhere light could no longer reach, something grinned. Stars streamed past the window like silver rain as the ship cut through hyperspace. It was quiet inside the cockpit, but not peaceful. There was a strange weight in the silence, the kind that came when you knew something was waiting for you. On the other side, Jake sat in the co-pilot seat, strapped in, eyes locked on the screen ahead. The map blinked with a soft blue dot, growing closer with every passing second. It marked the lost planet they were headed to. No name, no records. Just coordinates buried deep in the Xyron archives under the words, "Do not return." He glanced sideways. Lyra was piloting. Calm hands, focused eyes. But her fingers gripped the controls tighter than usual. Even she couldn't hide the tension now. You sure about this? Jake asked. No, she said. He gave a soft laugh. Cool, just checking. Outside the window, hyperspace suddenly tore open. The ship dropped back to real space with a sharp jolt. In front of them, the lost world appeared, dark green and gray, wrapped in black clouds, with broken rings of debris circling it like shattered halos. It looked ancient, it looked cursed. As they approached the surface, the ship's systems began to flicker. Lights dimmed, screens blinked. Even gravity pulsed unevenly for a moment. Jake floated a few inches out of his seat, then slammed back down. Okay, that's not supposed to happen. Lyra frowned. The Shadow Core's influence is stronger than I expected. It's already reaching out. The ship landed hard on a cracked, rocky surface, covered in moss and glowing vines. In the distance stood the ruins, tall black pillars shaped like fangs. Leaning inwards, as if the planet itself was trying to trap whatever was inside, they stepped out cautiously. The air was breathable, but thick with energy. Every hair on. Jake's body stood up. His hands tingled. His chest felt hot. Something here knew him, and it wasn't friendly. As they walked toward the ruins, voices began whispering, not out loud, in their heads. Jake stopped. Did you hear that? Lyra nodded, her eyes narrowing. Jake's trying to talk to you. The closer they got, the louder the whispers became. Not words, feelings, regret, fury, desire, shame, all twisted together like tangled wires. Too sharp to touch. Jake tried to ignore it. Focus on the stones, the path, the tower ahead. But the shadows moved strangely here. Light didn't behave the way it should. Shapes stretched too far. Sounds echoed before they happened. Finally, they reached the entrance to the temple. It wasn't a door, it was a mouth. An enormous jagged arch, lined with alien glyphs, pulsing slowly like a heartbeat. Black mist drifted from the cracks between the stones. Jake swallowed hard. If I die in here, delete my browser history. Lyra didn't smile this time. She grabbed his arm. Don't listen to anything it says. Don't believe the visions. Just remember who you are, he tried to joke. God. And if I don't know who that is anymore? She looked at him with soft, sad eyes. Then I'll remind you. They stepped inside together. Darkness swallowed them immediately. No lights. No sky. Just the sound of their footsteps on cold stone and the weight of something unseen pressing in from all sides. Then the floor lit up. Beneath them, circles of pale blue light, one step at a time. A voice spoke. This time, they both heard it. Child of light, welcome. Jake stopped. That's not my name. It was, once. The room opened into a vast circular chamber. Floating above the center, spinning slowly, was the Shadow Core. It looked like obsidian melted into liquid, constantly changing shape. Sometimes a sphere, sometimes a claw, sometimes something unrecognizable. Shadows flowed from it like smoke, but instead of going out, they curled inward, feeding it. Lyra stepped back. This is worse than the record said. The core pulsed. Come closer. Jake felt his feet move, not by force, but by pull. Something inside him wanted to obey. The closer he got, the quieter the voices became. As if the core were calming the storm just for him. Then it spoke again. You were made from two halves. One of light, one of dark. The Xyron did not create balance. They tore it apart. You are the result. Jake clenched his fists. I'm not part of you. You already are. Visions burst across the chamber, flashes of war, betrayal, dying stars, ancient kings screaming in rage. Then he saw himself. Again, the past version. Not a leader, not a hero, but a destroyer. Eyes glowing black, arm raised, worlds crumbling. Jake fell to his knees. Lyra ran to him, shaking his shoulders. Jake, fight it. It's lying to you, not lies. The core said, memories. Jake gasped. I did this. I caused all of this. No, Lyra said firmly. That was someone else. Another life. You are not him. Jake looked up at the Shadow Core. What do you want from me? The shadows curled tighter. To finish what you started. The core pulsed again, and for a moment Jake felt its power. He felt what it would be like to accept it, to command it, to become more than human. He could end every war. He could bend reality. He could fix everything broken in the galaxy. All it would cost was everything else. Jake stared into the dark and whispered, no. The core twisted violently. The shadows snapped out like claws. The chamber shook. Lyra grabbed him, but the exit was gone. The temple had closed its mouth, and the core was now fully awake. The walls groaned like they were alive. The entire temple shook. Dust and pebbles falling from above, as the shadow core spun faster and faster, a black storm in the shape of thought. Its shadows stretched across the floor like hands reaching for everything at once. Cold wind whipped around the chamber, though there was no wind source, no open air. Just darkness. Raw and ancient, Jake stood frozen at the center, staring up at the creature he'd once been part of, or maybe still was. The visions hadn't stopped. Faces flashed in his head, people he didn't know but somehow remembered. Warriors, rulers, traitors, all carrying the same eyes. His eyes, Lyra screamed something, but he didn't hear it. It's not clearly. The core was speaking again, louder now, in a voice that cracked through his skull and whispered behind his thoughts. You are not a visitor here. You were forged here. This place is your truth. Jake clenched his jaw. His hands were shaking. His heart felt like it was being squeezed by something invisible. You saw it. You felt it. Power that does not wait for permission. Take it again. Finish what we began. Images slammed into his mind, the stars bending, cities kneeling, galaxies silenced by a single will.
His will.
His face untouched by time. Ruling from a throne of gravity and blood, he dropped to one knee. But something stopped him from falling further. A hand, Lyra. She held him tightly. Even as the room buckled around them, her voice near his ear steady. Despite the fear in her eyes, you don't have to choose that. You can break the cycle. He looked at her, really looked at her. She was scared. But she wasn't running, not from him, not from the storm. In her violet eyes, he didn't see fear of what he might become. He saw hope for what he still could be. The core snarled. She doesn't understand. She is temporary. You are eternal. Jake stood. His voice was hoarse but firm. Maybe, but I'd rather live one real life than 1,000 hollow ones. He turned to face the core directly. I'm not your weapon. The core pulsed violently. The floor cracked beneath his feet. Then you are nothing. Jake stepped forward. No, he said. I'm free. He reached out his hand. Not to take the core's power, but to return something. The light dot from deep inside him, the memory of the first core awakened, the light that had chosen him, the part that had stayed silent during all this chaos. It rose now, golden and steady. Meeting the shadow core's rage with balance, his body lit from within, not with heat, with harmony. The shadow core screamed. It spun violently. Tendrils of darkness lashing out, trying to dig into him, but the light pulsed outwards, not as an attack, but as a wave of understanding, of truth, of wholeness. Jake walked forward, step by step through the storm. Behind him, Lyra stood her ground, eyes wide. Watching history unfold, Jake reached the center of the chamber. Both hands stretched forward. The core shrieked one last time, then dashed silence. The shadows fell, the spinning stopped, and the core shrank. It folded into itself like a collapsing star, pulled into a golden sphere the size of a heart. For a second in the air, then dropped gently into Jake's hands. His knees buckled. But he caught himself. Lyra ran to him, breathless, scanning him for injuries. Are you okay? He gave a tired smile. Yeah, just never doing that again. She helped him to his feet. The chamber was still now, warm. The cold had lifted. The walls had stopped whispering outside. The storm clouds were gone. The dark mist had cleared, and the stars above shone like they'd been waiting for peace. Later, aboard the ship, as they prepared for the return trip, Lyra looked at the sphere now sealed inside a containment case. What will you do with it? She asked. Jake leaned back in his chair, eyes half closed. Keep it safe. Keep me safe from it. She nodded. The council will have questions, they always do. She paused. Then softer, do you remember what the core showed you? The life before? He nodded slowly. Bits and pieces. Power. War. Loneliness. Do you think that version of you is still inside? Jake looked at her for a long moment. Then he said, no, he died in that temple. Lyra studied him, searching his face, then smiled. I'm glad. Jake smiled back also. Thanks. For not running away? Even when I was half glowing and half possessed? I considered it, she said. But then I remembered, you still owe me a lunch. He laughed. Right, galactic prophecy first, lunch second. As the ship pulled away from the cursed planet, leaving behind ruins older than memory and darkness deeper than death, the containment case pulsed once. Quiet, subtle, like a sleeping. Heartbeat Jake didn't notice. He was already asleep, but far. Away in a place no map could find, another version of him stirred in a dream and smiled.